These negative emotions are hurting us in the long run. Your physical health, heart attacks, even cancer has been related to it. When you just connect with other humans as humans, you're happier. It's those small things that make a huge difference in feeling like I have purpose, I have impact. This idea that it's a soft skill and these preconceived notions, when truly it's the most powerful skill that we have.
Welcome to another episode of Disrupt the Podcast with Andres Tapia
and Eloisa Domingo,
where we challenge conventional thinking and explore the ways that are shaping our future.
This episode, we're going to be exploring the world of disruption, of course, and specifically the disruption of how we define success, which I think is amazing.
But how do we define success? Through the filter of kindness.
Yes, and we have a wonderful person who's actually an expert in just that. And Andres, I'm going to have you take the lead because she's also a colleague and friend of yours.
That's right. Through a friend way over in Colombia.
Oh, that's right.
Who introduced us virtually. And without me knowing where Nicole lived, she just said, I want you to meet this wonderful person. Nicole and her co-founder, Daniel, who's Colombian too. And he travels all over the world. And so, okay, great. And then I said, I'm in Hyde Park. And so, Nicole, where are you at? And she mentioned the city of Glencoe, which is only 5 minutes.
I was going to say,
yeah.
I'm like, wait, what?
Yes.
Of all places.
Yeah, so.
Introduced through our friends in Bogota.
Yeah, exactly.
know. Small world.
So, but anyways, that's how we met. And since then, we've been collaborating on a variety of different things.
So, Nicole, again, Andres has had the luxury of knowing you. You and I just met a month ago. Yeah, we had sushi together, which was amazing. So I would love for you to just tell us who you are, your background, introduce yourself to our listeners and to our followers. That would be a great way to start.
Well, first, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. I am the co-founder, COO with KindWorks.ai. We're 4 years old. My background before that has always been in marketing and business development and brand. I was at large companies of Anheuser-Busch, different agencies. But I always had this passion for the culture side of the business. So I led teams of all sizes, and you never had an official HR role, but I naturally was this cultural builder, and people, came to me for these ideas. And when I started diving into the research on kindness, I'm like, this is what I've been preaching my whole career, as well as now I have 2 kids as well. I'm a mom, and that has really been what is really the most important thing for me, for them, is, not just being a good human and, always being kind and doing that in so many different ways. So it's a little bit of why I dive into the research. I'm like, this is it. This is what I want to do, both as a human and for work.
Yeah. So what did you find in the research that led to this powerful AI-powered platform that we'll double click on in a bit? But what did the research tell you? Said there's something here that I've been after all this time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I always said I am generally a happy person, and it's not that I'm never down, but my perspective on things is what I've realized is what helps me always get out of. You go through tough times, but your perspective on it makes a huge difference. And I realized that it was through the practice of kindness, unintentionally, that had helped me be a happier person. And I had always thought, this career in marketing and brand, and at some point maybe I'd be a coach and leadership coach, and in some way helping people build these teams where people are happy at work. And then when you're happier, you're delivering better results. And that's when research on kindness, I'm like, when you are helpful to people, when you're grateful, when you just connect with other humans as humans, you're happier. And then when you're happier, happier employees deliver happier customers, and that's business results. And so just that spiral of the data matching up with the intuition, so often we talk to, just anyone, clients, users of the product, and they're like, it's intuitive, but I never knew the data behind it. So that's really been what's been really exciting. And then now to actually see that live through people who are using our product, and to say I feel the benefit. Not only have my sales increased, but my relationships have improved.
But related to that, can you tell us some data points? What are the hardcore data points that you go, there it is?
Yeah. So it's everything from your physical health, the percentage of chances of heart attacks, even cancer has been related to it. So all of these things for physical health is one piece of it, all the way to just that sense of satisfaction at work. That's a big one. That sense of I am satisfied in my life. I'm satisfied in my career. When I am being kind to other people, it increases. that sense of just, I have purpose. Everybody wants to find that purpose and that impact in their work and in their lives. You don't have to be Mother Teresa to feel that you have an impact. It's those small things that make a huge difference in feeling like I have purpose, I have impact in my daily life.
Yeah. But the thing that I love about what you're saying is, obviously, we're running this podcast that we decided to focus on disruption, and people talk about, well, be kind. I'm a mom too, right? And that as a mom, you're like, stop it, be nice. That's just kind of foundational. But so what I love actually about what you're talking about, and I would love for you to kind of pull this through, right? Yep. So you're saying that there is some disruption and how we're looking at kindness and pulling it through here. I will specifically say from a healthcare perspective, I know that when you and I talked, I was so intrigued with the fact that, like you said, this idea of kindness equals, you were talking about, and I know that there aren't exact stats on this, is less claims that are, there might be something correlated with that. For me, I think that's really amazing. Honestly, that is disruptive. Yes. That's hugely disruptive. There tends not to be a large pull of correlation. So I'd love for you to talk about, like, why, we have her on a Disrupt podcast. Like, why?
The strong correlation between the business results.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think that absenteeism and presenteeism is a huge piece. So when we started, it was 2021. It was the height of the pandemic.
Oh, yeah, right after. Yeah.
So Daniel, my co-founder, had come up with this concept in, I want to say 2018, wrote it down, went to work for Amazon Alexa and their AI team there. And then when the pandemic hit and you see this great resignation and people are just quitting their jobs without other jobs because they physically are like unhealthy to be able to continue working. That's when he's like, we have to do this because this is the most powerful tool we have. And so it started with, being able for retention. So our first client was a large consulting firm. They're like, we've tried everything to keep people. Wow. And this is the first thing that has actually made a difference.
Wow.
And then now in the current world, it's not as, with the workforce has changed. Retention is still important, but it's more about absenteeism and presenteeism. And so with one of our legal clients, for instance, we have a strong correlation to reduction in absenteeism, which of course for a legal firm is huge.
Yeah. And wait, Nicole, presenteeism, what is that?
Presenteeism, this is a harder one to measure, but this is when people are coming to work, but they're not bringing their full selves.
Okay.
So you're actually there. Absenteeism is just not being at work.
Yes.
Presenteeism is you're physically there, but you're not delivering your full potential. So that's something, we've, like, one of the things that Benny as the AI agent will ask is, how productive have you felt? Yes. And we've seen increases in people feeling that they're productive when they're practicing kindness.
Wow.
Actually, you mentioned kindness again, because that's one of the key points here. But before we go further, how do you define kindness?
That is a great question. So I think about kindness. It's also the first question I usually ask on my podcast as well. I really think of it as an umbrella term that hits on all of these ways that humans connect in a positive way. So it could be a moment of gratitude, a moment of recognition, just connecting with another human as a human in a positive, kind way. I also think, as how it ties to the workplace, like this difference of kindness and niceness. And I think you can be kind and nice. Niceness can be surface level, though. Like that's what we teach our kids. And what I thought of when you say we teach our kids to be nice, and it's important to say please and thank you and hold the door and smile and all of these things. Kindness is then taking it to a deeper level. Like, I see you, it's the empathy piece, and I have a positive intent to support you and the compassion. And so at work, that means having hard conversations. It means not shying away from having the hard conversations, but doing it. I believe it's being kind and nice.
Wait. You're saying that you having hard conversations, you can do it in a kind way? Because people don't put those things together.
Definitely
it's
like,
not. I walked in there and they told me how it is, and I don't feel kind.
Yeah.
How's that?
It's when you are truly helping someone else and that's your intent. I think this is why it's important that kindness is a baseline, though, because that foundation of trust is really important going into the conversation to be able to have the hard conversation and know, this is going to be difficult. This deliverable didn't hit the mark and we're going to have to go redo it. We're going to have to work these extra hours. But when you know that it's because I have positive intention and there's a trust built and I'm in it with you.
Yeah.
So you're saying that I can fire somebody and do it in a kind way?
I truly believe so. We've had to let people go at KindWorks, and I will say, use
your own principles.
Yes, I've helped people get jobs out of that. Really taking the time to explain why it's not a fit right now, and really really having those tough conversations. It's also been we're a fully remote workforce. I believe it's even harder when you're fully remote, and it still is possible.
Absolutely, because you're on Zoom, and it's so difficult in that virtual environment. To like you said, it's one thing for us to sit here and for me to lean in, and try to do that in kind. But I completely agree, and I think that's the thing that I'm laughing actually, because I'm sitting here also thinking like, there's no way. There's no way. And I'm a believer in this, right? But I do think this is such a disruptive concept, because having come from corporate, and we're all from corporate, this idea of being kind really hasn't been something that is like, we need to pursue this. It's like, no, we need to pursue money, and we need to pursue efficiency, and we need to pursue the market, and however you do it.
Well, and I'm really, a little bit of your background that I know, and Danielle, that you and your co-founder Danielle met at the University of Chicago, Booth School of Business. And, that's a hardcore quantitative, approach to business, right? And real hard edge. So how is it that two Booth graduates find each other in friendship and collaboration, and then create a KindWorks platform powered by AI and really say it credibly and do it credibly? Like, how is it that you make the business case for this?
It goes back to us now having the data. So the first couple of years we were building this, it was just about those scientific research papers, and it's proven that it's going to improve your satisfaction at work. It's going to improve retention through papers. Now we actually have our own data that shows the correlations to the sales, to absenteeism, to productivity. And when you can actually show that, and it's long-term results, which I think is the more intuitive
give us an
piece.
example. An example of improved sales. Give us a story.
Sure. So Prosegur Alarms is a client of ours, and they're so it's like security system sales. And so they started out with about 100 people, and they saw such results in that 100 people that they brought it to their entire sales team soon after. But what they saw is this strong correlation. Well, first of all, not only after they introduced KindWorks did their sales increase, but their correlation between the people who were practicing more kindness and those that were selling more. And it's like almost an intuition, but it's not. Like you look at the numbers and you're like, the people who are practicing more kindness are selling more. And then talking to the people, they're like, yes, but it's truly changed our culture. Like we speak to each other differently.
That to me, as I'm sitting here, I'm literally like, wow. Because oftentimes at work, so I come from HR, but I also come from marketplace. Oftentimes it's actually one or the other. Like you really, you can sell, and you can sell more product to your market, but it's like, well, it may or may not have a Venn diagram over the culture in the workplace. We may or may not be nicer to each other. I'm not even sure, and definitely with HR. You didn't necessarily come from HR, but you're doing HR work. In HR, oftentimes many of the HR components, they don't really talk a lot to the business. It's like, we'll get you talent, we'll push it through, and then you do what you need to. So to me, that Venn diagram of not only that you're able to sell, but it's also impacting the workplace culture. That's somewhat revolutionary. That's amazing.
And if I could just have a follow-up to that comment, just bring us to that client. Explain how being more kind. How did kindness play out in the sales calls that they made that led to better sales results?
Well, and it's not necessarily even that Benny is giving suggestions for sales calls. Benny might, but it is more about the mental place that someone's coming into a sales call for. So like one of the stories, one of the sales guys comes and grabs Daniel's arm at a conference. He's like, I just have to tell you, you've changed my life. And I used to drive around, and he lives in a busy city. He's like, I have road rage every day when I come into my sales meetings. And now I'm thinking maybe that person has had a bad day. And I come into my sales meeting and I am in a better mood, and I'm able to connect with the customer more and sell more. And my conversations have just changed because I'm mentally in a different place because I'm practicing kindness.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. I don't know if that was going to be, I didn't know that was the answer. I'm kind of sitting here like, wow, I thought, because when you asked that question, I thought you were going to say, we taught them how to do a sales call with empathy and things like that. But you completely took it before they even walked in the door.
Right. And what I heard in that story, and it also caught me off guard, is that this KindWorks platform and the interaction with it allows people to connect with their humanity. And when they connect with their own humanity, then their interaction with who they're selling to or their teammates or the people that they're managing is just that much more productive and uplifting, right? Is that
Exactly. Because ultimately we're doing, like, humans are connecting with humans in these sales calls, and like people want to be treated as humans, and we're selling more to the people. Yes.
I think that, so one thing that I find that, I mean, again, just to use the word of disruptive, is this idea that it sounds, and this as a working mom, they often say to our population, to find work-life balance, right? That doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. But what I think is really cool about this is that reinstating this concept of kindness and how you're coming in. I'm just going to use this person that you were just talking about. I can only imagine that also allows him to figure out how to do this on a personal level. It seems very holistic, I guess, and then looking at work in a very different way instead of like, oh my God, I'm going to go in here and it's going to be this. If you shift your mindset, there may or may not be an opportunity actually for workplace balance by using this idea of kindness.
Absolutely. And that actually, this exact person who told that one story also was like, you've changed my relationship with my wife. And
Wow.
My son manages
there's an ROI
people.
right
I was
there.
going to say,
Yes.
yeah.
But he's like, my son manages people, and I've been explaining to him about this idea of the practice of kindness. It had him have a conversation with someone who works for him, who turns out like, he was disappointed with the way she was performing, and this helped him understand that she was going through some personal things and changed the way he was. So it's this filter down piece that is just incredible.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, one thing that I've heard you talk in Danielle about was tying in kindness to power. And again, that feels like a cognitive dissonance, right? Like those things don't really go together. Can you unpack that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this idea of soft skills, I think about it a lot, like this idea that emotion at work is the soft skills.
Yeah.
When really, like, those are the positive emotions that can help when we're empathetic, when we are kind and we're patient, all of those pieces. And when you look at the data, it truly is powerful. It's changing the narrative at the workplace. It doesn't have to be that, like, anger and deception and things like that. These negative emotions are hurting us in the long run. They might get you ahead in like one step of your career now, but they're hurting the business. The data all shows that. And so how do we flip that narrative at the workplace that the data shows it? They are the strongest things that we have to be true leaders. And they're the leaders people want to work for. I mean, we see that all the time.
I was going to say that's the research that I was thinking about as well. Is just like you said that and I'm not going to quote the research right now, but I remember when I was doing some work in corporate, as you go up in your role, you actually have to become more empathetic or seem to be more empathetic and seem to have a more listening ear and seem to be. But you're right. It's that I know that at least for me, we're not necessarily taught that being kind will equal promotion. Yep. Kind won't equal money. Kind won't equal this. So again, this is relatively revolutionary. So let me ask you, so as you're teaching this, are you getting people that kind of like are side-eyeing you? I mean, it's like, really? Are you sure? I mean, even if you do have really good data, which seems like you do, right?
Yeah. I think it's yes is the answer. And also now that we have this great data, there's enough people that are out there and leaders in these key positions that intuitively know this, and now it's bringing it together. And so it's just building that out more and more to showcase these case studies. So I believe it's still the leaders who intuitively know that a strong culture is going to lead business results. And now it's how do you do that? And I think it's changing the foundational culture. It's like, how are people interacting and speaking to each other and to customers? Yeah. It's not just being trained in sales, because that's important too. It's super important, but it's how we interact as humans.
Yeah, and I still want to hold on to the thread on what you said about power. And it's because power really is the ability to get things done. Yep. The ability to achieve one's objectives, right? And what I'm hearing you say is that kindness practiced with integrity is something that helps you achieve your goals, right? And the goals can be financial, it could be personal, right? It could be connection with other people. Yep. What other ways have you seen power manifest in organizations through the practice of kindness?
I mean, I think having people listen to you, no matter what level you are, whether you're a senior leader or just coming in, having built an empathy and connection and all kindness as a relationship, it allows you to have your ideas heard. So that's a big piece. And when you're a junior person coming in, that's important to move up. And when you're a senior person, it's important to motivate people to do things. And so that's a really key, is like how fast innovation, I'd say, is a big one that we've talked to a lot of leaders about. Like, how do we get our people to innovate? How do we get them to think differently? Like building that foundation of kindness and trust where people will share their ideas because they believe they will be listened to, and like that is, it's a spiral that's really important to set that foundation.
Let me, Nicole, when you and I first met, we talked a little bit, and I'm glad, Andres, that you're bringing up this idea of power and kindness. I'm just going to ask you from a female's perspective, right? Yeah. Kindness can be seen as a weakness. Yeah. That if men, and I'm going to be very stereotypical right here, right? So men who are kind in the workplace, it's like they are automatically empathetic, they are powerful, wow, they listen to me, like I really like this leader. Women who are kind, it's like she's kind of a pushover, she may be too, whatever. So it's really interesting to me. And so this juxtaposition of power plus gender plus kindness, I think it may live differently. Have you seen that at all in some of the research, or how are you kind of thinking through that?
Definitely. And I yes, because there's these stereotypical pieces that come in. I think it's what's really important. That's the difference of kind and nice. So like a female, it's even more important that they have the hard conversations and that they come in confident and they challenge things so that they really prove themselves. I think you have to prove yourself even more that you're going to have the hard conversations, that you're going to make the difficult decisions. Yeah. You can still do that with kindness. But there is definitely that difference.
Yeah. I think I appreciate you engaging in that conversation, because I think what oftentimes happens for women is when we're taught have the hard conversations, we go all the way to mean. Okay, so then I'm going to come in and I'm going to power down. But I think we intrinsically may have the ability to be kind, but I don't know if it's taught that way. Like it's like in order for me to be powerful,
either or, right? It's an either or thing.
And that's what it is.
Right,
it's an either or thing because I have to get to power.
Well,
right?
And that's the double bind that women tend to find themselves in. I found it intriguing what you said about a male who actually acts in kindness, in a sense, is acting counter archetype or interpretation. So therefore, we get points for that. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But if a woman sort of is interpreted as, well, that's what women do, right, or that's indicative of weakness, then it's seen negatively. But I think the distinction you just made between nice and kind,
that is,
then linking power and kindness. And I don't want to let go of that, because I think that is one of the most disruptive things. Even the sidelong glance question that you asked a little bit ago, is that's where the skepticism is. If I'm going to move with power as an organization, as a leader, as a team leader, as an executive, and you ask me to be kind, I don't know how that works.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Give us some more examples of leaders who have sort of had a breakthrough in that.
That has happened. It's so funny. I'm just actually thinking, I don't know if you saw Steve Carell's Northwestern.
I love that. Yes. Did you see it? Yes. It's amazing.
But I think one of the best parts, he's like, and you can be a kind leader and a strong leader. And there's examples like,
I know.
But there are many examples out there. Yes. I think what I believe, like sometimes they're not the stories that our media is going to shine. Yes. So Jacinda Ardern, and I mean, she had to make a lot of tough decisions while she was the prime minister. I mean, she had a mass shooting in Auckland soon after she came in, and she talked about how she came in and she had to make really tough decisions. She changed the law within 30 days. I mean, it was amazing. She reacted from a way that was both a leader position and empathy. And she's like, I came in and I was like, can I have these conversations where I'm going to potentially cry in them? And I realized I can be strong and make decisions and be human. And that actually helps me connect more with my people, with the people, when I am human and I am making tough decisions. So that they had fires during her time there. I mean, she went through a lot of, the pandemic happened, had to make the tough decisions on how to handle that in the country.
And in fact, they have some of the lowest incidences of COVID in the world. There's a lot of those actions that she took.
Exactly. That's right. She was a mom. She gave birth soon after she became prime minister. Yes. And so I think that idea of just you can be human and you can lead. I also think what's really interesting about her is she chose when she was done. And she said, usually in politics, especially, often in the corporate world too, there's like two ways out. Like you retire or you die. And she's like, there should be more options when you realize that this isn't the time. I might come back. I might do something, again.
Yeah.
But right now, this is not, I'm not the person who should be doing this role.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and she even said, I've done the job I came to do for now.
For now.
So let me go do something else, right?
Yes,
and that's
exactly.
kind and powerful.
Yeah,
and female.
Yeah.
I mean, just bring it all together,
Totally
right?
agree.
Yeah.
Totally
Exactly.
agree.
I also think in the business world, there's a lot. I can think, I was at a couple different agencies, like the president of the agency that I was at. Nobody's perfect, but I think being vulnerable, even as a male, and recognizing, my role is the way that having hard conversations of how do you feel in this situation? Yeah. And I think that you can do that in so many ways. Absolutely. And then lead and grow businesses and countries in a way that, the people that you're leading feel good and feel happy. And yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about HI, human intelligence, really, about being kind, which is sort of an element of what makes us human. And that's the whole point, that the power comes that actually
being a
be more human actually makes you more powerful in terms of the ability, not to tell people what to do, but the ability to achieve what you want to do for the organization, et cetera. But let's talk about AI now, because it's KindWorks.ai. And AI is a big part of your platform. So we've been referring to the platform, we've been referring to this bot agent called Benny, but tell us more about, how do you deliver kindness digitally through AI?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Because we just said it's human, right? It's very human, and now we say AI, right?
I'm like, what?
Right? What? That's very disruptive, right?
That's very much, yeah.
Disrupt that,
Well, I'm going to take it just one step back on why we brought kindness together with AI. And it goes back to when Daniel wrote the concept for it. He was the president of the Oxford AI Society, and then had this moment where he was at a crossroads of his life and did a kindness for someone else that changed his perspective. He's like, I felt that physical change. So you've got the research on kindness that you're diving into, and president of Oxford AI Society, seeing all these use cases for AI. Again, back in 2018, not necessarily helping people. How do you bring the two together and the power of the two together? And so what's really important for us is that it is AI for humanity's sake, and it's technology for humanity's sake. And so the idea is that it is encouraging and enabling the intentional practice of kindness, not to suck you in and be talking to Benny for 24 hours a day, but to get out and interact, that AI for human intelligence, and to build your empathy muscle and your kindness and your connectivity. And the reason I really think AI is really important is because kindness means something different to everybody. So your experience is different. And so, it might be different. You might need to work more on yourself and self-kindness right now. You might need to work on your leadership and listening more. And so having that personalized experience to work on how you think about building yourself.
Right. So you're saying that you've sort of unleashed an AI bot called Benny to help us be more HI, to have more human emotional intelligence. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. So how does that, now tell us,
Yeah,
how does Benny do that?
Tell me a little bit more here, because how exactly does that
how's he
happen?
prompting us to be more kind?
Yeah.
Well, if you think about kindness as like a muscle, and this is another thing that data shows, and it's interesting, you said something before of seem to be kind, and it's funny because you can practice kindness, and we've got a lot of questions of will nudges mean that it feels authentic at the workplace? And all the data, the science data, is through nudges, and it absolutely does, and it both helps the giver and the receiver on all of these different elements of feeling happier and more satisfied and all of that. And so it can be that it's nudged and that you're practicing, and then you start to feel better, even though, you might have taken a little extra effort to do it. So if it's like a muscle, if you think about different exercises that you would do for your muscle, it might be, connect with a colleague who you don't speak with much and just have a chat, all the way to give feedback to a direct report to help them improve. Say hi to someone you don't normally say hi to. Set some time to write down 3 things you're grateful for. There's thousands of exercises.
And Benny's telling,
Benny gives the exercises.
Okay,
exactly.
but can you take us there? Because we'll show some
I was going
stuff
to say,
on
we have
screen,
to
right?
show an example.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, but just take us to the platform, take us to the experience, right? Where do I find it? How's it attached? I'm a user. We're all users.
Right.
how's Benny poking us?
Right.
Absolutely. So right now we're starting at the workplace, and ultimately we want to bring Benny to everyone, starting at the workplace because of everything we've just talked about. So Benny connects to places people already are talking to each other. Right now on Microsoft Teams, on Slack, and on WhatsApp. And actually just this week we are available on Microsoft Teams Marketplace. So anyone can go in and just find Benny and add Benny for a free trial version. And so Benny will connect, let's say Microsoft Teams, and we'll ask you a couple questions, what's your role, learn a little bit about you, and then we'll bring you exercises. And then we'll learn as you're completing exercises, as you're sharing more about yourself. Benny might ask, what do you want to work on? Do you want to work on your leadership skills? Do you want to work on conflict management? And then we'll explain to you why the practice of kindness is going to help to develop your leadership skills, to develop resiliency, what it is that you want to work on.
But how does Benny know what you need? Like, is it listening? Is it spying?
Yeah,
Is it,
talk to my boss.
Is it pulling you on your shirt? Hey, say nice things to Eloisa.
Yeah.
So Benny is learning only through the data that Benny collects from you and then from the past 4 years and onwards. So Benny knows you are a executive in Chicago and has some information on what would be important to you based on that. And then we'll learn based on your answers to Benny. Benny will ask, how connected are you feeling at work? How appreciated do you feel at work? And we'll learn based on that to make it personalized for you. So it takes all the data that Benny has plus what you're doing. Trust is at the core of everything that we're doing. So Benny is not reading all of your messages across the entire board, and that's really important to us.
Data privacy and trust, like you said. Okay, so I'm like actually in this experience now. So keep going. So I'm on Microsoft Teams. I've inserted all of my data. You talked about prompts. Where are these? When does that happen?
So Benny will both proactively send you exercises and prompts through the chat section. If you use Microsoft Teams, just like you would tell like anybody else, exactly will message you. And then in the Home tab, there's also recommended activities for you based on what's important for you and what you need to work on or what you'd want to work on. And then there's a metrics dashboard as well, so you can see at any given time how your team is feeling, like just general mood, how appreciated, how connected, how impactful, what's important for you, and then team suggestions as well. You give shout outs and see how people are interacting with each other in shout outs. And then it's all gamified as well. So you get badges and streaks and
That's
and
awesome.
yes.
And so for people who are listening and saying, gosh, I'm interested in that, how quickly can they get to an impact point though? Like, does that have to be in like 6 months, or how quickly do you see impact?
I mean, we've seen it in just a few, like people trying this and being like, this is making a difference in just a couple exercises. Like the ProSinger example I gave, it was a month in and they were like, we need to bring this to our entire team when they started using it.
And do you typically, I heard you say earlier that the sales team that you were working with, they tried it with 100 people and then they spread it. Is that typically, if people are interested in this, do they typically go with pilot groups first?
We can do either way. I mean, we started with 100 people. We've started with 5,000 people. So
that's great.
Yes.
So there's a story that you told at the University of Chicago when we were on a panel together, and it was a female involved. So I know it's a different story than the one you told us about the guy with road rage, but she talked about how it had also changed a lot for her. Do you remember that story?
It might have been with Beekman 1802. So they're a beauty company.
Oh, yeah, I think that's what.
Okay.
So tell that story.
They're all based in kindness. So their whole thing is that their two ingredients are goat milk and kindness. And
goat milk and kindness.
Yes.
I mean, independent of you.
Yes, independent
but
of
they
us.
got attracted to that.
The co-founders, Josh and Brent, are fantastic. They built it that way. They have been bought by private equity, had a fantastic new CEO, had moved to fully remote, COVID. So things had changed a lot for them. And so it's how do you keep that culture now that you have, over 100 people that are fully remote? And what they really saw is that it moved it to this place where leaders were thinking about it every day. So they were bringing it into their daily activities. And so their goal was to how do you maintain that kindness culture? And what I say often is like, people generally want to be kind and they think they want to be. And as the daily activities get really busy and you're jumping from Zoom to Zoom and meeting to meeting, it just gets deprioritized. So they're like, it helped bring that back to a top priority. And then they saw retention rates that were starting to go to like that. They saw an impact on their retention rates.
I think one thing I really like about this, and I want to bring it back to something that Andres kind of started us with, is I like the fact that this idea of kindness, which often is brought up as a soft skill, now being introduced as a skill. In the same
power skill too.
as a power skill, right? That then can impact things that can either make you money or save you money. And I think that's the biggest, thing that I think is really amazing here. But I want to stay in the AI piece because I am still really romanticized by this idea that I'm sorry. So this robot is going to help me with my
humanity.
But I think that that's actually really cool. That in and of itself, I'm saying the word revolutionary, that is really, really disruptive because this idea of ChatGPT, right? I mean, ChatGPT or AI, I'm just using that as just the word. It spits out products for us, Now the product that you're saying is it's going to make me a better human. That's really interesting, I mean, I know that I'm just catching up to this whole thing, but I mean, I think and that's why I love this idea of you having a lot of data for this, because even for me as a former corporate executive, I really would sit there and be like, I'm sorry, like what is this? I mean, so I guess talk to me a little bit about what industries you're in, because I think that too would help me to understand, like, how is this sales? I get that. What I could also see this in healthcare, actually. What other industries are you in right now?
100%. We've been in healthcare, Scotiabank, for instance, so financial services as well. What I always say, though, it's not even as much about the industry as it's about the culture and the leadership being open to it. So having that open, kind of going back to having that opening that they already have drawn, that they know that they have a challenge with culture. And then they know that there's that will drive results if they can solve that. And so that's the opening, and having a leadership that's going to example set. What I was we've been told all the time, this team needs it, this leader needs it. Well,
You need it too.
Yes, that might be true, but you can't just throw a kindness app and not give any context. I also say often, kindness in the word, it's our greatest strength as a company, and it's our Achilles heel because of this idea that it's a soft skill and these preconceived notions, when truly it's the most powerful skill that we have. And it's also our differentiator in the age of AI. AI can mimic, but it can't actually practice kindness. And that's
in conversations we've had previously, we talk about how, AI exists only because of HI.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But then as we prompt AI, it can augment the HI experience, not only intellectually, but now you're saying in a disruptive way, it can prompt us and augment us emotionally and humanly, right? The fact that this digital artificial intelligence can help us be more human, right? And then in that, we can feed AI because we're now more our elevated selves, and then AI and HI can sort of partner together in a virtuous cycle of greater productivity, impact, and power, and humanity.
Nicole, you, as I'm listening to you, the word that keeps coming up, and you've used it probably twice here, but almost as an adjacent, is authenticity. Yep. Can you just include this in our conversation and tell me, where do you see that fitting in here? Because it's such a buzzword. Oh my gosh, he was so authentic. I trusted him because it felt real. Yep. Where does that fit in here?
That's an interesting question, because I definitely use it a fair amount. I think there's a couple different ways. So one is what is the culture that you want to create? I say often, most of us have probably worked somewhere where put the culture up on the wall and the buzzwords, but then it doesn't feel that in the daily activities. Yep. And that's really easy to happen at a company, especially in virtual and hybrid workplaces where people aren't as connected to the culture. And so how do you infuse in an authentic way into every decision? And it's not these big showy displays. It's in every interaction. It's in every conversation. Yeah, and so that's why the nudges are really important, and have that be in a way that reflects the culture that the company is intending on, so that it becomes something that is truly authentic in the way people are experiencing.
Well, and so far we've talked about leaders and individuals, but I'd like to talk about teams. What impact have you seen Benny have on team dynamics?
Absolutely. I mean, that's innovation, I think, is one of them. So that difference of trust and building this foundation of trust where people will have, the difficult conversations and being able to challenge things, and no matter what level they're at, that then leaves this opening for being able to push the boundaries. Again, that's one of these questions we get a lot of, like, innovation is a challenge, especially at large companies where the culture is hard to feel in everyday pieces. And so that foundation of trust.
Are you I'm interested on when your customers insert you. Is it you said earlier one of your customers was like, we've tried everything, you know? Was that kind of is that an anomaly, or do you have people who are like, our culture sucks?
Yeah,
and like
desperation.
Yeah, desperation, and like we are just hemorrhaging people. I mean, what are the problems that people bring you?
More often, it's during a time of change. So it is something that is like the Beekman 1802
time of disruption.
example. A time of disruption, exactly. Scotiabank, they were changing CEOs. So like and maintaining this level of trust and this culture of connectivity. United Nations was another one where they were going through some external challenges at the time. And so it's often these times of change, whether it's high growth, it's a change of leadership.
Yeah, that's
well, and actually that's so fascinating, right? Because we've talked in the show that part of leading through disruption is that you have to lead your people not only to the change, but you got to lead their emotions. Because disruption makes people anxious, it affects mental health, lack of confidence, uncertainty, confusion, anger, right, loss, mourning. I mean, those are very emotional things. So as I think about kindness in the context of disruption and change, that makes a lot of sense now, right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we lean in and triple down on kindness? Because that's precisely the balm that people need in this time of great change.
Yeah. No, I absolutely. What are some of the critiques that you hear for people coming? You coming in, you've maybe got one or two champions. What are the critiques that you're hearing?
I mean, I think that it's like any other culture tool. It's always, how do we make sure that they understand this is a need to have and not a nice to have? And so that is always where we're at. It's blending, I believe, the data. And it's the data we have from other clients. It's the data we have from that particular client with the human stories. Because everywhere we've been, there are these huge advocates that are like, you've changed, my team, you've changed my life. And so it's blending the data and the qualitative stories.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm curious. We talked about what humans are learning from Benny or just through the prompts, but what has Benny learned about
about
humans?
us?
Yeah, about us and from us.
Yeah, that's
right. Because Benny is learning.
Yeah,
He's generative AI, right?
Yes, right.
Yes.
Because you've gone 4 years now. How has he, she, they evolved? What is he, she, they?
I was going to say, what's the pronoun?
Benny is a he, and that was
Benny is a
intentional
he.
because
Okay.
most AIs are female, so that was done
I didn't know that.
Oh,
I didn't know that. Okay, that's a episode.
when they're
Well, and it goes counter-
when they're labeled. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, it goes to that gender bias thing that we talked about. Why not make the kind bot male? At least for starters.
So fast. Okay.
Yes.
But anyway, what has Benny been learning?
I mean, obviously, just through every single interaction, Benny is learning what's important for people. What's really interesting, that Benny will ask, people to share their own practices. Today, do whatever you want, and so gets ideas through that. But also, we'll ask when someone says they're feeling underappreciated or they're feeling disconnected. People will share a lot with Benny, and it's one thing that we have just been developing. Because we're like, the trust is at the core. So we're never going to, I can't even see everything that someone will say. How do we share that from a mood and tone back to the company? Because that's really, really helpful and important for them to understand why people aren't feeling appreciated. And so that is now something that we can share as well.
Do you find, I'm going to kind of a little bit piggyback on this gender piece, because how many this is available
in English and Spanish right now.
Okay.
So anywhere that's English or Spanish. Yes.
Okay. Are there any cultural nuances around kindness and those kinds of things that you've seen or thought through?
Really, most of it is like pretty foundational from like the way that people practice. What we have found is more different between cultures is how they want Benny to speak. So the example would be like in some of the South American countries, more emojis or more like exclamation and more excitement is a little bit more.
When Benny uses his hands. Benny has to use his hands more. He just goes like this.
Whereas, a senior partner at a consulting firm in New York wants to know a little bit more of just like I just want to execute the
just wants to calm Benny.
Yes.
Calm it down.
Just bring it down.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, In your work with Daniel, and I've watched the relationship, it's beautiful, and we're going to have him on the show down the road too as well, and hear kind of the genesis of his epiphany. But in your work with him and with clients, what has been the most surprising thing that has happened as you launch on this really disruptive concept?
So, I mean, for me, honestly, I always say I am both an optimist and I'm a realist. And, the fact that one of the top 3 consulting firms was our first client, I thought that we were
managing consulting firms,
top 3 management consulting firms, yes. And I thought we were going to, execute with them and then be like, great. They're the ones who are like, we tried everything. This is amazing. Like, how do we bring this to everybody? And so I just think the reception by so many different industries has been the thing that, this is the humans are humans. And it's like across countries and across cultures. And that's what's been the most amazing. So it's maybe not surprising, but also, yes, surprising. Like I wouldn't have done this if I didn't, know that this was something that was going to make an impact and see that. And also, like, it's just amazing to actually see that happen.
Yeah. Well, I like the fact that, that this is, to me, as I'm listening to you and I'm learning a lot, sitting here, it's not just the tool. It's also that, Andres asked you earlier, how do you define kindness? I mean, it's been this kick of kindness, this kick of, authenticity. It's often very amorphous. And it often is like, just do it. You can do it, like, lean in. I don't know, this kind of thing. I like the fact that there is a definition. Of course, there's research. We're big on, quantitative data. It's really like, again, to me, I like the fact that you're building it in as a skill that you have to work on. It's not just like, just go do it and figure it out.
You have to work it out. Like we have to work out every day to build muscle tone. You got to work every day to be kind tone, right?
But, and again, that there is a definition around it. It's not this amorphous, kind of thing. To me, I think that's a lot. I think in this world, we're always, especially post-COVID, it's like, go work out, go eat better. It's like, I don't know how to eat better. I don't know. What are you talking? Here's how. Yep. Here's how to be kind, and we're going to help you out that way. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. The thing people have told us is surprising too is that they thought it was going to take more time, or that like it was going to be more. That it wasn't going to fit as much into their daily activities. And we've heard people say over and over, like, it's so simple, and yet it makes such a difference for our team.
That's so great.
Well, before Eloise and I do our takeaways of what we heard today, if Benny had been listening, and maybe he has been.
I know.
Is he here? What do you think, Benny? What prompts do you think Benny will be giving us now?
Oh, good one. Asking me to go in Benny's head.
Yeah. Well, hey, HIAI.
I mean, I would say it's about like paying it forward. I mean, you guys are doing that in your work, but how are you bringing that into the world? I think what I always say is that intention, and so always like keeping it top of mind and not losing that thought and feeling. I get out of a lot of conversations and people are like, "That was the best conversation I had," because I got to talk about kindness all day. And then they go back to their workplace, and then it's back to like the grind. And keep the kindness at the forefront of your mind, because it's going to change how you talk with anybody.
So, Nicole, you've got some amazing stuff, and you talked about how this grew to here, right? I'm assuming, I mean, you're an optimist and a realist, so you want to bring it, forward. Where do you want to take this next? Like, what are you dreaming of next?
The big dream is to bring this to everyone. So
the world needs it, right?
The world needs it, exactly. Like, how do we hit 1 billion people? That's our big goal.
We hit 1 billion people. Okay, why not? Go for it. Moonshot.
That being said, in the short term, it's funny, you've met Daniel, so if it was up to Daniel, we do everything right now. And so really focused on, we have so much to grow in the workplace, and so many people are spending so much of their day at the workplace that is hitting so many humans. So how do we take the last 4 years of user insights, customer insights, and really make the product even better and stronger to bring it to as many people at the workplace as possible?
Well, and speaking of the product, tell us more about the product. I mean, we know there's Benny running around somewhere, and doing little prompts here and there, right? Yeah,
I'm freaking out.
But I know that you have other tools and elements and features. Just tell us a little bit more about the product itself.
Yeah, so it all is centered around the experience with Benny, which is in Microsoft Teams, in Slack, and in WhatsApp. And those are the exercises that Benny brings you. The real, especially added value for the teams and the customers is the metrics. So in the Home tab within Microsoft Teams, it will show you just a quick snapshot of how your team is feeling, appreciated, connected.
Oh, so it automates the metrics.
It automates the metrics
That's
in there.
cool.
Yes. We also have the enterprise piece where it's monthly reports, which go into much more deeper insights. So for our enterprise clients, we do a monthly business review meeting, and they get the monthly report that goes a lot deeper.
I mean,
So-
it sets things up for
That's
diagnostics, right?
huge.
Like real time, real data,
time,
not once a
To
year, once
course
every 2
correct.
years, engagement
That's-
survey.
Wow.
You're getting real time, real sentiment with
And
real
that's
interaction.
better. It's better than pulse surveys because pulse surveys are so like laborious. That's amazing.
This is picking it up based on the actual interactions as opposed to some external, I
Right,
gotta fill out the
right.
survey.
Well, and the way Benny will ask, I checked in a couple weeks ago, you were like feeling so, how are you feeling today? And then that is a metric that's able to measure, and then Benny will bring you an exercise based on how you're feeling today. So it's both bringing value and this benefit to the user as well as the data for
And
the
then,
company.
depending on the impact, then Benny can then give a new sentiment about how the team is doing 3 weeks later.
Exactly. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing. So so keep going because we want to learn like what is it? What are the tools that are in there?
Yeah. So the metrics that really we say it's like three components. It's the experience with Benny, it's the metrics, and then the other piece is just we have a lot of content that is both through the product and outside the product, because this idea that kindness is a practice is a new concept. And so there's a lot of education that we have to do about what do we mean by kindness? There's this whole thing of, it's so funny because I talk so much about kindness and niceness, and to me it's so intuitive, and it's such an aha for so many people. And there's a lot of what we've been talking, especially recently, a big challenge at the workplace is that people are nice, but they're not kind. And so they're not having these tough conversations, and
Is that passive aggressiveness?
Yes. Yes. That's a good
I'm just saying.
Yes, that's exactly.
Nice but not kind.
True.
Right, Nat?
That's so true.
I might unlock something.
Yeah,
here.
that's so true. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nicole.
No, I was gonna say because we joke at KindWorks, we're a small team. We're all like at some point in time we were all the Benny within our team, and I distinctly remember conversations, for instance, where we were in a meeting and we get out of the meeting and somebody comes to my office and be like, "I didn't agree with that idea. Can you believe that person said that idea?" I'm like, why didn't you say that in the room? Let's go and have the conversation. Like we need to have these conversations in person, and that's the kind thing to do and for as humans and for the business. Like that, you have to be kind to the business too.
One thing, that's so interesting. One thing, Nicole, when you and I first met, that I was so taken aback by, and even here as I'm continuing to listen, is intrinsically you're talking about being kind to one another, but intrinsically you're also pushing to be kind to yourself.
100%. Yes.
That's
There's exercises.
amazing.
Benny shares exercises both to be kind to others and to yourself. So if you think about the definition, it's both. Absolutely.
Yeah, which bleeds into this idea of satisfaction and engagement, and because certainly a company can make you happy, give you benefits and things like that. But if like as much as you said, so what makes you stay? Because I'm happy here, I feel a certain way here. But like you said, this idea of being kind to myself, which if I have to bring back, some of these other things about culture and gender. A lot of cultures and communities aren't taught that. It is very be kind to someone else, and that is where the power comes from.
Even at your expense.
Even at your expense. Yeah. So I love that piece as well. That's so important.
It's so important, and I think we don't think about that enough. And I think it's also why Benny and KindWorks, it's kind of, there's two elements for how it's thought of at the company. So for the employee, for the general employee, it's a benefit. It's not like this is something you have to do. You have to go practice kindness. This is a benefit. You're going to feel better for the customer, the buyer, the leadership team that's buying it, who also it's a benefit for them as an employee. But it's also a business like tool that they have to see their results and to then improve their results of their culture.
Well, so thank you for being here on the show.
Yeah, and sharing with us. It was amazing.
And Louisa, as we usually do, this is real time, and based on this conversation with Nicole, what are you taking away from this?
Yeah, I actually really love the conversation that you introduced, actually, and how you've brought us through this conversation of kindness and power. For me as a woman, for me as a Filipina, daughter of there are a lot about me, and as a leader, bringing that all into that, I want to stay authentic and I want to bring that. But the thing is that corporate environment teaches people like me to then swing to a certain type. Be hard. Don't make friends. When you have conflict, just make the decision. And I know that for me, I've really struggled with that a little bit because I'm like, that's not me, and now I look mean, but I got it done and I don't get it, So I love that you had that conversation. You're talking to us about power and kindness. That's number one. The other takeaway that has been so clear is the difference between nice and kind. I don't know if I ever thought of that. I think for me, I've kind of used it interchangeably, but I think that I liked how you said, we teach our kids to be nice, open the door, be nice to each other. I do see that as a skill, but it's very tactical as opposed to the kindness, this idea that you said, like, keep it at the forefront. I might have to go talk to my kids after this. It's like, don't be nice anymore. I need you to be kind.
I think it's the end.
But those are my takeaways. I just think thinking through that, I think it's just been, you've helped me to kind of paradigm shift a little bit, so that's really helpful.
Yeah, but I like what you said. Know that be nice is it's a more tactical thing, and kindness is a more transformational thing. Because the argument you made about it makes us more powerful to affect change in our organizations, in business, in our teams, and in the people around us. Right? That's transformation, right? I think my takeaways kind of go back to a running theme that Louisa, you and I have in our show, which is, we talk about what's required in this time of disruption. And we need great leadership. And great leadership needs to be leadership of character. And that kindness is one of the key pillars as we talk about character being made of different traits, but the kindness is really a core one. And I think we had a chance to unpack what that can look like here in a variety of ways. So I really believe that, for viewers out there, whether you're leaders, managers, team members, in a world where everything is spinning off kilter, that getting centered as a person of character with kindness as a core trait is a really powerful reminder, and that there's a tool that can be available to really prompt us and build that muscle and really bulk it up in a really significant way. So that's my main takeaway here.
I love it. I love it. Nicole, where can they find you? Where can they find you? Where can they find this? If I'm sure our listeners are like Googling you right now, but where can they find you?
Connect with me on LinkedIn is probably the easiest place. But KindWorks.ai is our website. And if you want to try on Microsoft Teams for free, it's just KindWorks.ai/Teams. So real
and
simple.
They said Benny is also available now.
That's what, if you go to KindWorks.ai/Teams, that's where it'll take you directly to Benny on Microsoft Teams to try for free for anybody.
I want to try it. I'm going to try it. Yeah, I'm going to try it.
Let's go meet Benny.
Well, let's go meet Benny.
Please.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Well, Nicole, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
So fun.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Thank
lovely
you.
having you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, with that, thanks for joining us for another episode of Disrupt the Podcast with Andres Tapia
and Eloisa Domingo. You can check Andres out at his website, me at my website, and then of course we have the joint website, Disrupt the Podcast. And also you can find a variety of tools. If you want to continue to have this conversation with us, please do so. And of course, reach out to Nicole because she's going to know a lot more than we are. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on a variety of places. Click subscribe, click to follow, and get more conversations about disrupting your world.
Yeah, and do it kindly.
With kindness. Awesome. Thanks for joining us again.
See you later.
Adios.
Ciao.